He's ready to go on the Fan, New York Sports Radio. Mike's on, Mike's on. He'll get you the sports any way that he can. It's Mike Francesa on the Fan. Sports Radio 66 and 101.9 FM, WFAN.
From the studios of WFAN, this is Mike's on, Francesa on the Fan this Friday, a football Friday, the 17th day of November as we move into the weekend before Thanksgiving, believe it or not, as it continues to fly by. We get ready for a limited football weekend. One, because the Jets are off. Two, because you just don't know what you're going to get out of the Giants. And that, again, as they welcome in a very good offensive Kansas City Chiefs team. Not a great team, but a very good offensive team. And we'll deal with a very good play caller in Andy Reid. And you can see that the Giants still have not figured out how to get out of this mess. You've heard about the brutal, come to reality film session with the coach about effort. But then you have a confrontational corner who last week embarrassed the franchise, absolutely embarrassed the franchise, basically saying, I don't care what the fans think. Well, that's the quickest way out of here. First of all, how he never got benched last week, I cannot understand. And then you have the coach and especially the defensive coordinator still trying to alibi for this guy, which is absolutely occupational suicide. It was intolerable that he didn't get taken off the field last week. And the idea that you're going to now try to, in some way, rationalize away his lack of effort last week, and he's going to give you, watch the other games. Hey, he played well last year. No one's taken that away from him. He played really well. He was one of the best players last year on the team. On a defense that absolutely shined last year. Whether you're talking about Snacks, whether you're talking about Collins, both who played to a all-pro level, not a Pro Bowl level, an all-pro level. That means top 11 level. Whether you're talking about Jenkins, you're talking about guys who played terrifically well last year on a defense that was sensational and really led that team all year. That's fine. That does not give you the right to go out there and pull the stunts that have been pulled here this year on this team that is just going down the drain week by week, day by day. Here comes a Kansas City team that's going to have no mercy offensively for any of this. And they absolutely match up perfectly to the Giants' inabilities on defense. Giants can't cover the tight end. Here comes team tight end. Giants have let guys run free through the secondary. Here's a guy who wants to run free all day in their wide receiver who's the fastest player in the league. You want a cagey quarterback who will give you problems on the edge? Here he is. You want another quarterback who will give you trouble with his option game and the ability to run the ball a little bit? Here he is. Want to deal with a back both as far as at the line of scrimmage and when he gets in the pass routes? They got one of those too. And they got a significant play caller who's one of the best in the league, and an offense that's been one of the best in the league, and a team that is very much expecting big things on their 2 trips to New York. They have this one, and they have one against the Jets on December 3rd. So the Chiefs are going to be here a couple of times, and they expect to do plenty. And nothing. Let the Vegas line makers show you how far the Giants have fallen. The Giants, 10.5-point underdogs at home. Think about it. I would guarantee you I would have to go back through a lot of research and a lot of years, and maybe somebody can find that for me. Maybe Mons can find that for me. Maybe somebody knows what it is. The last time the New York Giants were underdog by 10 points at home. Maybe it was a game where a mighty Patriot team came in one year that I can't remember. That year they came in on Saturday when they were undefeated, they were not 10-point favorites. They might have been 7, 6. I don't think they were 10. Now, they were 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. We know that. But I can't remember. And that was against an undefeated team. Kansas City's a good team. They're not a great team. Matter of fact, they haven't played that well of late, and they're not a very good defensive team. They played better earlier in the season. They have to get themselves, righted. We know Andy's strengths. We know what they are. We know what his record is at a certain situations. All that plays into this, no question. But think about how much they have fallen and how little faith anybody has in the Giants this week. And then you got a defiant cornerback who gives you zero in the way of effort, is not benched by these coaches for some ridiculous reason. Actually, they're alibiing for him, and then tells the fans, get lost. Hey, if enough fans get lost on their way to the ballpark, they can all understand that they're going to be walking very quickly after New Year's. Because that's the only possible thing that will save this group right here, save this team from a mass house cleaning, both in personnel, as far as coaching, front office, and on the field, is if this team finds its pride at home in this last set of games that will feature the Chiefs and then feature the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Redskins. If that doesn't happen, and these fans have something to cheer about sometime in this season, remarkably, in a turnaround, then you can bet your bottom dollar that none of them are going to see the field next year here, or are going to be there for the national anthem on opening night or opening day, whenever it is. That's the only chance they have left, is if the fans respond to the effort and to the pride that this team shows against teams who matter when they come here. Like the Cowboys, like the Eagles, who are going to come here with a big record, like the Redskins, who are going to come here on New Year's Eve with probably out of it, probably with a quarterback who's getting ready to take off, maybe with a coach who's about to get fired, who knows, depending on the situation in Washington, which is always up for grabs. And what that day is like, if there's, 55,000 empty seats, you can forget the chance of anyone coming back. So if they haven't showed some pride by then, or this week, it could get uglier. You didn't think it could get uglier than last week. They're home this week. If this looks like it did against the Rams 2 weeks from now, it'll get uglier. And for Jenkins, who shouldn't even be playing this week, to be telling the fans that he doesn't care what they think, that's a message that I know one half of the ownership team cannot tolerate and doesn't tolerate. So the fans' response will either save them or will push them off the teetering brink that they're on right now. The other story this week, and it continues to get uglier and uglier, especially as the league continues to leak out information about Jerry Jones, is this Goodell-Jones fight. Remember, you have two crazies here, okay? Goodell can't stand anybody opposing him at anything he wants to do. He's got that reputation. He's had it for years. That if you even try to argue with him, you're history. And he doesn't care who it is. He doesn't want anybody in the way of his mission and his contract and the money he wants. Reports that he was furious at the idea of a pay cut. Absolutely furious, if that was the case. And Jones, who's had his back up ever since the investigation of Elliott, and then when business started to get hit by the anthem stuff and the way that was handled, and the way, according to reports, that the commissioner has botched public relation move after public relation move, has started to divide and move away from the commissioner to the point where they were at a outing, according to a report today, where the commissioner didn't back off telling him about Ezekiel Elliott because he knew Jones would go crazy, and they had to have a photo op. So you are right now in this position where Jerry Jones is not going to back off. He won't. He is as selfishly motivated as any NFL owner we have seen this side of Al Davis. I think even much more so, because I think Jerry is much more money motivated than Al was. Al was power hungry, But he was a football coach who was power hungry. He did not want to be told what to do, but he was not motivated by just the dollar. He's motivated much more by power. I think Jerry's motivated by the dollar. But he will not back off. And this league can go after him all they want. They can threaten him. He won't. I can't see this guy backing down. This is a guy who made his money wildcatting. There is probably no shakier way to make your fortune than out there putting all your money on a rig and hoping it comes in. But that's how this guy spun the dice. Guys who have known him say there's nobody who has more testosterone in a deal or the ability to put it all on the table and let it ride more than Jerry Jones. So this is not the guy the league wants to fight with, because he will make it so dirty and so ugly by the time it's finished. This NFL will be reeling. The amazing thing is, when does this ownership group say, you know what, maybe, with all the revenue he's driven, how much is him and how much is the league? How much of the things that we have lauded him for, collective bargaining agreement, dealing with the older players and their medical issues, the way he, basically virtually criminally dealt with Amalu when they wanted him dealt with, the things he did for this league and for the owners, and a lot of them doing their dirty work, which he clearly did, and did willingly because he's getting paid a fortune for it. But when do they say, maybe we need a new guy, need a new face? And Jerry hasn't even pushed that. But if this gets that ugly between these two, and like I said, these two, neither one wants to ever back down from a fight. This one could get real, from the media standpoint, it could get juicier and juicier. From a standpoint for the NFL, it could get uglier and more dangerous by the day. Whereas every league has secrets they don't want coming out. Every league. They pull fast ones, whether it's stadium deals, dealing with governments, dealing with authorities in certain states. Hey, they all do. And no one wants to air all their dirty linen, especially the NFL. And it's starting to come out little by little as they try to build this case against Jerry Jones nationally. Jerry's not going to take it sitting down. He's just not. Now, the last time, all right, before I break, the last time they were this big an underdog was, it was week 17. Okay, that game was, all right, I'm wrong about that game. I thought that game was like 7.5. That game was 13. That was the night when the big play game, the Saturday night against the undefeated Pats, when people wanted them to lie down and not try. And I was screaming all week about them wanting to play that game, and it turned out to be a classic that they led a long time and battled and lost 38-35. They were a 13-point underdog, but that was against an undefeated team that was considered one of the great teams of all time until that point. They didn't complete the mission, obviously, in the Super Bowl. But until that point, they had been about as good in terms of point differential and everything else as any team that had ever played football. So they probably, if I go back and look, were probably 2 touchdowns over everybody in that year by week 3 on. So that one, after that, you'd have to go back to 1998 against the Broncos. I remember them upsetting the Broncos in that game. That was a fossil game. Amani Tuma caught a ball in the back of the end zone. I remember that game when they beat Denver. I remember that game. They actually beat them as 12.5-point underdogs. I remember that game. So they actually showed a lot of pride that day. And before that, it was 1980 against the Cowboys. Now, interestingly, in these 4 games, dating back to 1978, where they have been 10 or more underdog at home, they have covered every game and won 2 of them. They lost by 10. They won outright. They won outright, and they lost by 3. So they've always showed pride in those games. Here comes one this week. Any pride left? Here's the McMahon.